Hey everybody, this is Freddy Rodriguez.
And I'm Wilmer Valderrama. Welcome to Those Amigos. Today is a very special episode.
Yes.
Because we've never had a dear amiga on the show.
Dear amiga.
And we want to welcome the first ever amiga.
The first ever amiga.
Melissa Fumero.
Oh!
Ay, qué rico, ay, qué rico. You know, everybody in the car who's listening in the car on the plane right now is like,
so
you just
sorry.
blew my ears off.
We hope you did not
weren't
crash.
expecting that.
Sorry, it's just there's so much sazon in this room.
So much spice.
Well, we're so happy. Look, we
Yeah,
don't, you know,
Melissa, thank you.
I'm going to lead with this, that, Mel, that we don't, you know, we don't tend to have guests, you know, so when we have
I
guests.
thought you were going to say, we don't tend to have women. I was like, because you hate women. Except me.
Get out of my mind.
Thank you.
Don't put words in my mouth. But no, the
I'm
truth
so
is
honored.
That, I think.
I think.
What I'm trying to say is what I told the very few extraordinary friends that very few. I've told very few women before that you know, that when we have a guest, the guest has to really represent something that's been special, that has been you know, really, you know, not just memorable, but impactful in our lives. So the guests that we have are people that are like really individuals that I know are not just only like-minded, but but can provide so much context to the history.
And
that we've all
femininity.
lived. And, you know,
Oh, that
and then
too, that
also,
too.
the female persuasion. But we're just so happy. And, you know, I've told you this before many times, but I'll tell you again on the air officially that you know, I've always admired you so much.
Oh.
And I think you're one of the most talented actresses on the planet.
Yes.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
from someone who like has done a little bit of comedy, a little bit of drama, to talk to somebody who has, you know, who has like the same amount of expertise and capacity to be so free to be dramatic and so free to be comedic.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really rare in our industry, and you possess all of that. And by the way, you're a beautiful woman. You know, you're an incredible mother. You're an amazing producer, but also an amazing
guys.
director. So like to have a dear sister of ours come and bless our show, really, really excited. And also, you are the host of another sister, you know, episode, another sister podcast to, you know, to the family of my Cultura, More Better with Stephanie Beatriz as well.
Yeah.
Who's another one of our sisters too, who also, by the way, both of you are like just weapons of mass laughter because you guys are just so
Yeah,
great.
you two together is like Laverne and Shirley.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much.
So just so excited, and thank you for accepting our invitation. This conversation will be painful, but
Bring it.
Gut-wrenching.
I
anyway.
dare you.
Melissa, where are you from?
I am from New Jersey.
From New Jersey, born and bred?
Born and bred in New Jersey, Northeast New Jersey, by what was formerly Giant Stadium, for those who are wondering, close-ish to Manhattan. My parents are Cuban.
Both Cuban.
Both Cuban.
Both born in Cuba?
Both born in Cuba, came when they were teenagers. Well, my dad came when he was like 12. My mom came when she was 15. They were high school sweethearts.
In Cuba or in Jersey?
In Jersey. Yeah, they met in New Jersey. My mom met my dad like very soon after she arrived because she was in New Jersey actually with her dad and stepmother while her mom like kind of found a place for them in Miami, but then she met my dad and it was like a kind of like a love at first sight sort of thing.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Mommy, I want to stay. I met this boy." And so then she ended up staying with her dad instead of her mom. And her stepmom for those like high school, college years. And then they got married super young. And yeah.
So she was destined to go to Miami. She was supposed to.
Yeah, she was supposed to go to Miami,
yeah,
but she ended
yeah.
up staying in New Jersey.
What did your grandparents do in Cuba?
Oh gosh. On my mom's side, her dad was a carpenter. And I believe her mom was, I think, just a stay-at-home mom. The man that my grandmother ended up marrying when she came here, who was like really my abuelo, because I didn't see my mom's dad that much.
Yeah.
He was the maitre d' at Fontainebleau in Miami.
No way.
And when I was a kid, I thought that was so fancy.
It's so fancy.
I was like,
That was the time.
that was the time. Like we're talking like
yeah.
80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Like, and I just thought it was like so cool. And
How long
he was
did he
like
do
a
it for?
very charismatic guy. I think until he retired. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then my dad's side of the family, I don't know that much about, to be honest.
Gotcha. Did you ever see your grandfather in action at the Fontainebleau?
I do have a memory of being really little and like seeing the lobby and that grand staircase of the Fontainebleau and like seeing him in a suit. But I think it was like really quick. Yeah, I never like super got to see him. It was just like the title was cool, you know?
Yeah. He was almost like an actor himself, right? You ever see those maitre
Oh,
d's in
yeah.
action? I mean, those guys are like...
And
Turn it
he was so charming.
Yeah.
He could make me laugh so much as a kid. And he was just like the sweetest man. And he was the best. Yeah.
Anyone in your family dabble in entertainment at all?
Not entertainment, but my mom's side of the family has a lot of visual artists, a lot of painters, a lot of sculptors. I have a cousin who was like a music prodigy, a couple other cousins that like danced that were younger than me for a while. But no one in entertainment. It was all like visual
Do you
stuff.
paint and sculpt now? Did any of that rubbed off on you?
I did start in painting classes when I was like 9 and 10. I did it for a few years. I did the Bob Ross technique, if anyone's familiar.
Very good. My wife would be so excited to hear that.
Really?
Yes. Which is like not paint by numbers, but like it's very like, you know, it kind of makes like anyone can paint a little bit. Like make anyone's, or it's like those painting studios that people go to, you know, they got
Like
a certain way.
Like the wine and like
yeah,
paint.
and everyone's painting looks good, and you're like, everyone can't be that good at painting, right? It's like there's just certain tricks. So no, I did not inherit the family gene, but I did always love like drawing and paint. I wasn't that good at it though.
Yeah.
But my kid is good at it.
Really?
Yeah.
Skips a generation.
It skips a generation, exactly. And my husband has it on his side too. So
How young did you got the bug to perform? Were you like super young, or were you
super
like
young? Yeah. My mom put me in dance classes like all women do with their daughters. And as I got older and like my friends started quitting, I kept going. And then I followed a dance teacher from the rec center to a dance studio. And then I just wanted to do all of the classes. It was like a dance and theater studio in my hometown. And when I was 10, my parents took me to see my first Broadway show. And I lost my mind.
What was the show?
It was The Secret Garden, starring Mandy Patinkin.
Mandy Patinkin, wow.
And Daisy Egan and Rebecca Luker, Broadway icons. It was amazing. It was a Secret Garden. And then I got like, I wanted a Secret Garden journal after that. And I got like all the Secret Garden stuff. And I was just like, and I would listen to the soundtrack all the time. And I was
Really?
obsessed with it, yeah. So
Do
then
you
I
sing as well?
In the shower.
It's complicated.
In the shower.
Like
complicated.
Facebook. Like
It's complicated.
Facebook.
It is.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, I fully believed that I was a singer. And I took voice lessons. And I got up on stage many times and sang. When I got older and I listened to those performances.
Is it
I
that
was
your
like,
voice changed as you got older, you think?
No, I was just fully delusional.
Okay.
I was like, I can totally sing. And I could not. But I could, when it came time to like audition for colleges and I knew I wanted to be a theater major. And at the time, I felt very much like an actor and a dancer. For a while, when I was like a freshman and sophomore in high school, I thought I would major in dance and like go that route or like try to audition for dance companies right after high school. But then I fell in love with acting during high school. And somewhere along the way, I sort of told myself, well, if I learn how to sing well enough, I won't have to choose because I could do musical theater and I could just keep acting and dancing and I'll like figure out the singing part. So I was like, I am a singer. And then while I was in college, and I went to college with like crazy like people that are on Broadway now.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
Where'd you go?
I'm not a singer.
Oh, that's so interesting. That's
I'm
so
actually
funny.
not a singer. I'm actually not that good at this.
Right.
I went to NYU.
You went to NYU.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I was
You know, Freddy was a rapper.
Are you?
Past life.
Oh,
I was
come
like
on,
you.
bro.
I
Yeah.
got around some
Yeah.
like real ones, and I was kind of
Yeah.
like, no, maybe this is not
maybe
for
I'm
me.
not. Yeah, that's what happens, right? You're like, I am crushing this. I was
yeah.
so bold in high school. I remember there was a musical theater program I was in at that dance school. And I basically like lobbied to get the lead, but like in a way where I was like, so I deserve this. I'm a senior. And
Yeah.
we all know this role should go to me. Like, I'm cocky as fuck. Like,
Right.
and like, I kind of figured out how to sing it. I was just like impersonating the person that had sung it before, and kind of it was in my range enough that. But like, there were lots of other parts. I was like, that doesn't. And like, when it didn't sound good, I was just like, whatever. I'll just sing low. No one will hear it. Like, I was so confident.
It's the perfect
Kind of like an
heist.
American
It's
Idol.
the perfect
You know what I
heist.
mean?
Nobody
Yeah.
will
like
ever know.
audition.
Yeah.
When someone
Oh,
comes
if
in like that,
Ameri-
like, yeah, I can
If
sing.
American Idol was around when I was in high school, 100% I would have been
You
like,
would have
Mom,
made Simon
we're
Cowell.
making a
100%.
tape. We're making
You
a
made Simon
tape.
Cowell. You're making it to Hollywood, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
this is happening. And then very quickly after getting to NYU and like being in vocal performance class with these, I was
I
like,
mean,
you're
it's
just
not
in
fair.
the back and you just feel yourself shrinking in your chair.
But
like,
it's not
everything I
fair.
knew.
It's not fair.
Right.
It is not real.
You know, it's not real and it's not fair. You know, like some of these people that are extraordinarily talented in singing,
Yeah.
they have been doing vocal pull-ups for their entire life.
Their entire life.
You know,
And
so it's
here's the
like,
thing.
like
Yeah.
the notes they can hit is insane.
And
Yeah.
and singing like, you know, like painting is, I think, like comedic timing, I think is like you can't, there's a big chunk of it cannot be taught. Like you either have it or you don't.
Right.
You
Right.
know? And it was very humbling. And then
So then did you change gears into then like, I think I'm an actress or
no, I was in the musical theater program at NYU.
But you must have
then-
learned
and
some.
then
I mean,
oh, yeah,
you
yeah.
can hold a note.
Or
you know?
I had, like,
Don't give yourself more credit. You know?
That I was like, how did I get here, right? And so
Yeah.
Well, you got there for a reason, though. I mean,
I did, but here's
You-
the thing: did I sing for my audition? I must.
You
have.
have to.
Yeah.
You
I must
have
have.
to.
Yeah. I did sing, but I sang a song.
What was the song?
Oh God, do I remember what
Usher
song?
Nice and Slow.
I sang in no. I can't. I'm like, what was my go-to song?
of the future.
That's why we're not in the program, you see? Because we're not.
No, it must have been some music. Who knows? It might have been like Part of Your World or some shit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's always the go-to is Aladdin or
Yeah.
or The Little Mermaid.
Yeah, it was probably a Disney song.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I sang for the audition and I did a monologue. So anyway, so then when I'm in the program and I'm watching all these singers and I'm like, holy fuck, how did I get here? I kind of quickly realized that there were 3 groups within the class, right? Most people were extraordinary singers and they were there to become better actors and better dancers or be comfortable, get better at movement. And then the medium to small size group was the extraordinary dancers who, and a lot of them could sing, and they were there to like become actors.
Yeah.
And then the smallest group, the one that I think I was in, was people that were actors who were there to get better at singing, and I was also a dancer.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that helped.
What kind of dancer were you? How did you
Mostly
stylistically?
like ballet and
Oh, cool.
contemporary and
So you were a
and then,
dance minor?
theater jazz. I wanted to be a dance minor, but the way the program was structured, like there literally wasn't time to do it. But in my program, I had like 3 hours of dance, 3 or 4 times a week.
Oh,
like that's how I
okay.
would start my
They
day.
included it in the.
It was included in the program.
wow.
Yeah, I would start every morning with like 3 hours of dance classes, and then have acting and singing and da da da. It was a great program.
Would you consider doing a musical now?
No, maybe, no.
Yes.
Live?
Yes. It's different. It's different.
I feel
if
like
you're gonna
years
go-
of television have destroyed my voice. First of all, I would have to completely
point.
relearn
I
how to
understand.
sing
And how to
in my
project
current-
from down here.
Yeah, and like how to sing with this voice, because hours and hours on a TV set. Like I literally speak lower than I did when I was younger.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's just kind of happens with our gig. Yeah.
But I'm sure. Look, I'm sure you could sit. You might have not
You can
been.
hold the two.
Yeah, as
I'm not gonna
good
make your
as
ears
everyone else.
bleed, but I don't know. I don't know.
Give me a part of your world.
that
give
you're
me, give me,
no, fuck you.
give me.
But I don't. You know what? It's kind of like I could like sort of yell on pitch. You know, it's kind of that
Yeah.
vibe.
You could yell on pitch.
I can yell on
I have a
pitch.
question. I have a
little
question.
Bit,
If you go to
know?
karaoke and you pick what's the
I
Aladdin
hate
song?
karaoke.
Like the,
no, not Part of Your World. A
a
whole new world.
A whole new world.
Right.
Would you murder that?
No,
What's your
100%.
go-to?
You would. 100%
Okay.
you would.
no.
Yes.
I'll tell you a go-to.
What's your go-to?
Like Bon Jovi, what?
From Rocky Horror
Jersey, yeah.
from Rocky Horror Picture Show. Touch Me.
Bro,
That song.
that's so hard.
Wait, how does
It's not
touch?
that hard.
How does it go? How does touch me go?
I'm not gonna sing.
Yeah, how
Fuck
does
you.
it go?
No, but we're trying to get. Come on, we're trying to get the melody.
Give me, you
here.
said I'll be the one.
How does it go?
Somebody play it on their phone. This is a trap.
No.
No, it's
Leo,
you know the one
stacked.
that Susan
Leo,
Sarandon sings.
stacked.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I yell it on pitch.
But how does
Yell
it?
it on
But how do you
pitch.
yell
Yeah.
it though? What do you?
Get out of here.
Let me see.
No, get out of here. I hate you both. I have an older brother, okay? I know this game. I know all your moves.
America deserved it,
I
and
am
you
not
deprived us
gonna-
of this.
Well,
and we're gonna move on. But
I'm
I
also
completely
not getting
understand.
paid.
Did you?
Exactly. Exactly.
Did you speak Spanish in your
shit.
house?
So we did.
Yeah.
So the story is, my parents only spoke to us in Spanish until my brother started elementary school,
Yeah.
and he had and one of his teachers called my parents in, and she was like, "What are you speaking to him at home?" And they were like, Spanish. And I'm like, it's really messing him up at school because he was
That's so
speaking in
wrong.
Spanglish. But this is the 80s. And like, so they scared my sweet immigrant parents. And they still spoke to us in Spanish, but they stopped making us respond in Spanish.
Oh, right.
So I grew up, like I always say, I'm in my ear, on my brain, I'm fluent.
Yeah.
But the connection from here to my mouth is not fluent
Yeah.
because I grew up hearing Spanish and responding in English all the time. And so it's gotten a little bit better over the years. I keep saying that I'm gonna like really.
It's honestly, your brain has to kind of just lock back in and say, hey,
Yeah.
I'm going to tap into what I know.
Yeah.
Because it's in there. It's just about flowing with it.
Every time I'm immersed, I went on a trip to Costa Rica once with a friend, and she didn't speak any Spanish.
You got
And
by easy.
the end of the trip, my Spanish was like so
Yeah,
much
yeah,
better.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
every time I go to Florida, like it's in there, it comes back.
But
But
it happens when you have to switch back and forth from English to Spanish because I do junkets in English and Spanish. And
I will
if
not
I
do
start,
interviews
dude,
in
if I start in
Spanish.
English and then I have to do now another 10 in Spanish, my brain is like click, 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 click,
Yeah.
click. You know,
Oh,
like it's
God,
just like
yeah.
really, really hard to kind of click it. And I grew up, Spanish is my first language,
Right.
and I didn't learn how to speak English until I was 14.
Wow, yeah.
So I should have no excuses, but I do feel like I have the vocabulary of a 14-year-old.
But no, you don't.
in Spanish.
Oh, in Spanish.
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank
Yeah,
God you
interview.
didn't agree. Thank God you didn't agree that my vocabulary is a
What if
14-year-old
I
in
was like,
English.
She was like, "You do."
Because I know the words like compromise and constitution in English. And so I think
Yeah, those are tough in Spanish. Those junkets because
Yeah.
it gets so technical. I could hold
And
a
fast.
conversation in
and they
Spanish,
fast
but
and
like,
they want to,
yeah.
you know, they want to kind of like make
Yeah.
it fun and snappy. And you're like, I'm trying to remember my sentence.
Right,
You know?
yeah.
I have to give you some flowers because you have been so consistent in showing up for our community. you really show up for your brothers and sisters, specifically in entertainment, and how we continue to not just tell our stories, but really civically engage, our cultures and values, so it continue to be, amplified in what we make as artists. But you have been very consistent in reminding people that you are Latina, and you're very proud of that. And, at a time where we were doing television, and where we're all still doing television, but at the beginning when we started television, Freddie and I talk about this all the time, where we were the only Latino in the room, right? Like that's like they only give you one, right?
Yeah,
And so God forbid there's two Latinos, because they're like, they can't be in the same show because there's too many. You know? But the conversation has really kind of evolved, and what Freddie and I have been really trying to discover, and one of the explorations of this show is also to create enough perspective to say that we're trying to redefine mainstream by uplifting the most mainstream audience there is, and that is the Latino audience.
Yeah.
The Latino audience is the most mainstream, the most loyal, the most trusted when it comes to the opening box office weekends. We're the first ones at midnight on Thursday nights.
We watch all the shows.
You tell us 9 p.m. we're there at 9 p.m. And so in cultivating that, we also as an audience, as we demand more representation, as we demand more roles or stories that speak to us, we gotta continue to cultivate our homegrown heroes. We can't take down the individuals that are breaking the barriers and making it more commercial for us to see ourselves. Because if we're not commercial, it's not investable. And if it's not investable, it cannot be made. So that's the type of stuff that I think is so interesting. And I would say I want to talk a little bit about your trajectory as an actress, because you have been a consistent performer in many of our, not only primetime but daytime too. You started in soap operas, right? We could have used her in Dos Mujeres Un Camino, but
Dos Mujeres Un Camino.
Dos Mujeres Un Camino with Eric Estrada, but maybe it was before your time. The truth
Do you remember that one?
I feel like I don't remember it, but I have definitely heard the
Dos
title.
Mujeres Don Camino. It was Eric Estrada had the brightest idea to learn how to kind of speak Spanish, flew to Mexico and shot a Spanish soap opera. And he was one of the biggest soap operas of all time. Eric Estrada had, the last thing you remember him doing was Punch and Chips. So when he went down there and he played opposite two of the most beautiful Mexican actresses of that time.
Genius.
And he was, in Spanish, what is it? Dos Mujeres Un Camino means two women.
And one path.
One
One way.
Only one path.
Let's say one car.
Only one road. Only one road and one road.
So the whole thing was about him having to pick the woman,
having
right?
to pick, and the two women, the whole thing. It's like fighting for the fighting for the love, and he has to be torn between the two.
Eric Estrada.
For Eric Estrada, and but going full circle to telenovelas, which are such a big part of our culture.
Yeah.
I mean, they are our Mission Impossibles.
Yeah.
Like they are our Star Wars.
I don't know when I was on the soap opera. It was just my first job.
And was that right after college?
It was right after college.
Oh wow, right after.
So my last semester.
So it was One Life to Live first.
One Life to Live.
That was the first one.
Yes, I actually wasn't on. I was the All My Children episodes. Were like crossover episodes. So I was playing my One Life to Live character on episodes of All My Children.
Okay.
How did that happen?
That's
after
crazy.
College? How do you?
You were doing Marvel Comics crossovers before Marvel Comics.
Yes, I was. So my last semester at NYU, I was in the film and television studio, and it was great because every week they would do a showcase and they would invite a casting director or an agent. I met my first agent through that. And then the casting director for Guiding Light came in. Mm-hmm. And I screen tested for Guiding Light, me and Katie Lowe's, because I went to college with Katie Lowe's. Wow. And we didn't get it. Both of us didn't get it. And then the casting director for One Life to Live came through. And I was a confident teenager.
Yeah.
So you would have a one-on-one with them. You would read a scene, and then they would talk to you for a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I read the scene, and while she was talking to me, I went, oh, yeah, and I just screen tested for Guiding Light last week. Like, just dropped that in. Like,
yeah. And like for
Bro.
leverage?
Like
Yeah.
like in case you don't know.
Young people take
Somebody else
notes.
wants me.
You know what I mean? It's just like, and I said it all like,
yeah.
and it was really great. It was a great, I didn't get it, but it's okay. It was a great experience. Like I just made sure to mention it.
Yeah.
And then 3 days later, they called me in for like an audition, and there was a role that was being recasted.
Yeah.
And it was on One Life to Live. There was a token Latino family, and so it was a Latin role.
What
and
year was this? What time was
this
this?
is 2000, end of 2003.
Okay, cool.
And
Very forward thinking for daytime, by the way.
yes. Well, yes, on One Life to Live, there was a token Black family and there was a token Latin family.
Incredible.
So we were
You're
very
represented.
we were represented.
Yeah.
We were very progressive.
Yes,
But
'cause we buy
that also
soap
meant
too,
all
you know?
of the Black characters were related and all of the Latin characters were related.
We're related.
Yeah. So like,
What do you mean?
Because we live in the same neighborhood, we make babies with each other. It makes so much sense
yeah.
on TV.
So
you know?
the other 4 Latino characters on the show were my aunt, my cousin, my other cousin. Like, yeah. And then
got
it
it.
was the same deal with the Black family, So there
Incredible.
was no like, I don't think there were any, all the couples were mixed. Do you know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
there were enough
They
characters.
couldn't take the same color. You know?
No.
Yeah.
No.
That's a little too bold.
No, but like David's character had like 2 of his my husband, that's how I met my husband. He was on the show.
Oh, right. Yes.
He was my cousin.
He played your cousin?
He was my cousin.
Yeah.
Because he was part of the Latin family.
That's so mainstream.
And so, but 2 of his lovers on the show were Black. So that was, how they would at least get couples of color
Oh, that's
going
interesting.
on
Yeah.
the show.
That was very scandalous for daytime. Very scandalosos.
Yeah, and then I ended up screen testing, and I think I screen tested twice. And then the crazy part of the story that I've told many times is I got the call that I got the job on the day I took my last exam for college. Wow. Yeah. So then I was on set like a week later.
No,
But you
that's
got to
crazy.
graduate, right? mean,
I did, yeah.
okay.
I finished a semester. Well, I finished a semester early.
Yeah.
Because I was poor and couldn't afford the tuition.
I barely graduated high
I
school.
did max credits and a summer session so that I could graduate early, and save my parents a lot of money and myself.
You're a hero.
So yeah, so then the graduation ceremony that was in the spring, I had already been working.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
you started. So soap operas were your first introduction to on screen,
Yes.
which is crazy because it's single-handedly probably the hardest and most
Yeah.
taxing thing you can
Yeah.
do as an actor. People I don't think understand that
No.
how many pages of dialogue are you shooting
Yeah.
a day and how many episodes you're shooting a week and like
You're doing 6 episodes a week. You're doing on
What?
average 30 to 40 pages a day.
How?
Because they shoot, so it's shot like a multicam,
Right.
where the fourth wall is your cameras, and it's 3 to 5 cameras, and it's live editing. There's someone in a booth going camera 1, camera 2.
like you
camera.
do with sitcoms, right?
Yeah, just like you do with sitcoms.
Right.
And you shoot each scene 1 or 2 times, and then you move on.
But how do you
can-
learn all that dialogue within that period of time?
You hide your script in a sofa, and you
Right.
look at
Right.
it before.
Really analog because that's before cell phones.
Unless
by the
you
way.
really fuck something up, they're not going to correct
Right,
you.
right,
If you
right.
basically say the thing, they're going to move on.
Yeah.
Right.
And also, if you say the words, but your performance is,
They're
they're going to
moving
move
on.
on. So yeah, it's super fast, and so you can do 5 scenes in an hour or more, and so you just fly, and then when they're done with that set, they move all the cameras to the next set and
Wow.
they do
Right.
all those scenes. And you're shooting 6 episodes a week, so everything is also from like different episodes. They would try to do things like in order at least, but you're just jumping around. But it's also they're short scenes and they're very
And a couple of people in the scene, so everybody kind of balances lines, right?
yeah. It wasn't like, I don't remember it being,
So gruesome.
no, it's like 3-4 page scenes. Like they're short, and it's like,
I mean, look, let me tell you something. That was your first introduction. They didn't feel as hard. but it's like a very
No,
difficult thing to say.
It
Yeah,
was really
yeah,
hard.
yeah.
And I think the biggest thing I learned was, it wasn't just about the performance part was really hard because there were a lot of days I would leave and go, I just did the worst fucking acting of my life. And that's going to be on television. I was like, what is this job? And I'm trying to figure it out. I'm watching the vets that have been there for a long time. Some of them are crazy. They can just turn on waterworks, literally action. And they're like, water coming down their face and they're crying. And you're just like, oh, they can just do that. And you're trying to figure out tricks basically for yourself. But the biggest thing I think I learned was the working with so many cameras and how that blocking is. And then the biggest thing I think I learned was it's like a 20-person cast and a rotation of 7 to 10 directors. And you're working with, and then you never see the writers. You only see the head writer ever. And then you're just working with all these different personalities. And that, to me, was the biggest, best thing I walked away from that job with.
Interesting.
Why?
Because it was, toxic is a strong word, but
it was a complex navigation.
It was at 21 years old, a very complex thing to navigate of you had these older actors that had been there forever. You had younger actors that were just starting out. You had actors in the middle that some were happy to be there. Some were fucking miserable to be there. There were so many different dynamics going on and you're working with the same people a lot, but you're also thrown into scenes with people you've never worked with before. And then you're trying to figure that out. So I felt like it made me sort of more flexible and leaning into just maybe observing people, or you know what I mean? When to hang back, when to be a little bit more of a showman and entertain and how to kind of read a room and, how to deal with someone that might be difficult or, someone that's screaming at props because they don't know their lines and they're trying to stall. You know what I mean? And how to handle yourself in those situations. And I was so young. And I think nothing shook me after that.
Yeah, because as soon as you enter the industry, the industry was full of all these personalities,
right?
too.
It's
so you're learning to navigate that.
You still see plenty of that as you go along, and so I think for my first thing, and then when I did Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which was this.
Did you go from the soaps to that?
No, there was 6 years in between.
Okay, and what happened in those 6 years?
Barely working. Of recurring guest stars, co-stars.
Like what recurring? I want to know.
I did a recurring on Gossip Girl.
What'd you play?
I played a minion of Blair.
A minion of Blair.
During the Columbia school years. I think it was season 6 or something. I did 6 or 7 episodes. It was very fun, and that was wild because they were such a hit show.
Oh yeah, that was when they were.
There would be
peak,
paparazzi when they'd shoot outside. There would be
what are they wearing today?
Yeah, gaggles of schoolgirls outside the trailers, just waiting to see Leighton or Blake. It was insane. It was.
What was
just,
that for you?
experiencing
Experiencing that for the first time.
I sort of was mesmerized by it all, and I was like, "Wow, this is crazy," and it just felt like. I don't know how, it's hard to describe because it was at that point they were a well-oiled machine. They were just making the show, but it felt like everything was so much more about the hype and the Gossip Girl of it all. And I got a little yelled at one time for leaving my sides on a chair, and that kind of thing. And then there was one time, sometimes they would give me scripts and sometimes they wouldn't, and then I had a scene that made no sense, and
you had an all script, and it was
and I had no script, and I was like, "Can I get a script? I don't understand my scene." They were like,
"Oh my god!"
And I was like, "What is this?"
Was it also the contrast of doing that many scenes and that many pages in a soap, and then going to do this?
It felt easier. Yeah.
Easier.
Yeah, you're doing 3 scenes a day.
I'm doing 2 scenes today.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? 1, 2 cameras. all right, like just.
Then you go to a movie and you shoot a 3-page scene for a week. You know.
Oh my God, yeah. It's like.
Did you find the acting styles? Like, did you feel that coming from a soap, you had a very specific acting style that you had to do there? Did you find that you had to adjust?
No.
While doing a show like
Well,
Gossip Girl?
I did in terms of Gossip Girl was very specific because they had a very specific cadence to the dialogue on that show, and you had to be word perfect.
Oh, really?
If you dropped a the or an and,
yeah,
they would tell you.
They would tell you. No way. Wow.
So you had to be
it's so
word
specific.
perfect. And everyone just there was like a musicality, a cadence to that show that I could that I heard when I was watching the show before I did it. And then when I got there, I remember they were like, because our first episode was almost like an audition. And they were like, basically like, if we like you guys, if you do well today, we're going to bring you back.
Right.
I was like,
There's a creating
cool.
community around the
No
characters.
pressure. And they were like,
Yeah,
and by the way, don't drop any words.
Oh, right. So they told you that, right?
Yeah,
from the beginning?
I believe they did tell us.
And what's
yeah.
crazy is that it was Gossip Girl.
Yeah, and it was
Like, just chill out.
like,
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like
Like-
really? Like you're Aaron
there's a
Sorkin.
little, like there was a little
Gossip
bit of
Girl
that.
by Aaron
A
Sorkin.
little bit of that. I definitely
Yeah.
during my time there got a little like disenchanted with like, is it like this on every show? And do I want to do this?
Yeah.
Like, am I going to be happy and fulfilled doing this? But then, you know, like life sends you things sometimes when you most need them. I was like at a low point and I booked a guest star on Royal Pains.
Oh, I did Royal Pains too.
Yeah, with Mark.
Mark is a gift. Can we talk about Mark?
Can we talk about Mark?
Please.
Can we please
You break it down,
talk about
and then
Mark?
I'm gonna give you an anecdote because
Because
Mark.
I have wanted to see him in person ever since this because I was like
they're
almost-
rebooting it, and he's coming back.
Oh my God, okay. Mark is the kind of number one on the call sheet that arrives, knows everyone's name on the crew.
Everyone's name.
Everyone's name is, you know, going up to a grip and being like, how's your daughter's birthday party? Like the best fucking guy.
Yeah.
Completely memorized, has like this crazy medical monologue that he's doing like first up in the day and like spits it out and like is so collaborative with everyone. My storyline, there was like a few of us. I was like a girl that crashed on like a jet ski and he saves me. And then we're like part of this little party group. So there's like 5 guest stars in this, learns all our names. Every time we're sitting, you know, because sometimes guest stars are sat like a little separately from
end of
like
the whole-
regulars.
yeah.
Would come over and talk to us. And just, it was the loveliest week. And everyone was so happy on
To
that
be there.
set and having so much fun. And it felt creative and fun. And I was like, oh.
This was in New York.
This was in New York,
Yes,
yeah.
That's when they were shooting that.
And I was like, if this is what it's like, if this is what it could be like,
Yeah.
I'm so in.
Yeah.
And that experience was so magical because I felt like it gave me something to visualize, to like hope and dream for. And it's actually what materialized on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Wow. Like that was the vibe we had. And when Brooklyn first started, I remember thinking, oh my God, I got my Royal Pains. Like this is that vibe. And
Why do you think that is, Melissa? Like how do you think a vibe like that is created? Do you feel that it's created from the top and it trickles down?
100%.
Like who dictates? Like on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, right? Was it Andy? Like who dictated that?
It was Andy and Andre. So it was Andy and Andre, and I think to an extent the showrunners, you know, Dan Gore and Mike Schur.
How open they are to your ideas. how
Yeah,
they
and they also are like this is a no asshole space,
right.
you know, like. But when you have the number one and the number two being so gracious, so kind to everybody, walking on set, greeting the crew, treating everyone with respect, when a guest star rolls through, no matter how big a star they are, they see that.
Yeah.
And there's no room for tomfoolery.
No, for sure.
Like
Agreed.
no one's gonna try shit.
In your show,
You know?
speaking of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, what is very evident is that you were doing something that felt like the first time of something in a long time on television. Like tonally, to be that kind of outgoing and innovative to say, hey, we're gonna do a show about this. You know, it's like there's elements of things that really effortlessly worked in some amazing comedies, and they were all combined into one formula. And then you had the perfect cast that was so liberated by just trying things.
Yeah.
That's what it really came across, that it was, you guys were out there just, not gonna give up until it was funny.
Yeah.
And it was that was super evident. Do you feel like that's kind of the environment that the producers and the showrunners, they're like, let's try this line, or let's try this thing, were you guys improvising at times?
We were improvising at times, and we would do a lot of alts. And again, I think that tone was set by Dan and by Andy too. Like Andy, if Andy hears something in a scene that's not working, that's not as funny as it could be, he cannot let it go.
Move on. Yeah, exactly.
He cannot move on.
Yeah.
And
That's
he would
great.
pinpoint moments, and he would pinpoint just dynamics that needed tweaks and needed reworking. And those were my favorite moments, right? Like, that's what I love about single camera comedy, is like, if something's not feeling right or landing, everyone just kind of comes together and is like, what can we do? Should we play? Should we improv? Should we, the writer comes with an alt, like, well, we had this idea, you know what I mean? And it's like all these people coming together, and then you just fucking try shit. Then you try like 3 different versions of the thing. And sometimes you find something crazy magical that you're like, oh my, where you say cut and the whole crew laughs.
Right.
And it's the best, it's like such a high. And he really, from day one, like, set that tone. Like, I remember when we did the pilot, he was there every day. Like, he took his producer role, like, so seriously.
Also, for him, the stakes were really high. I mean,
He was just coming off SNL. He was like, I need this to work.
It's gotta work. Because otherwise, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Is that where you met Stephanie? Was on the show?
Yeah. So Stephanie and I, we got cast, and at the time, like you guys were saying, it was always just one. This, for us, this was like, we were like, this is really the first time they've had 2 Latinas on one show.
Yeah.
And we were freaking out. And we both knew Gina Rodriguez.
Yeah.
So when we booked the pilot, Gina, it might have even been on like Facebook. Like, this is like pre-Instagram, right? Like
MySpace. She was on
MySpace.
MySpace.
Like DM'd us both and was like, hey, I know you both, and you both just booked this thing.
Yeah.
And we exchanged numbers through that. And then we were so scared about them deciding to get rid of one of us that for the network table read, we decided to wear our hair very differently because we were afraid they would confuse us. Even though we look nothing alike.
Right. No, but that's a very
And we
real,
both have wavy hair. And I remember, like, we talked about it, and we were like, how, and she was like, well, I'm definitely gonna dress in all black. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna wear, like, maybe I'll wear white, like something light colored. And then I was like, maybe we could do our hair different. And she was like, my curls don't really like, I was like, my hair straightens. I can straighten my hair.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll wear my hair straight. And that's literally the reason why Amy has straight hair on the show and Rosa has big curly hair, is because from the beginning, no one told us to. But we, behind the scenes, made that decision out of fear.
That's so smart.
Because we just wanted to look very, very different.
So you're providing 2 different perspectives and 2 different characters. By the way, your characters could not be more different.
Could not be more different.
So it's like,
we sound different, we look different. But at the time, we were just so used to like, oh, we already have a Latin character. People just, confusing you for like
out of fear, but it was also rooted in reality, right?
Yeah, it was a little bit.
This is how it goes down.
But I gotta point out,
we're like, no one ever does this. So like, someone's gonna change their mind.
I gotta point out something that's like, we should have a moment for it to echo for a second. That the 2 Latina actresses talk to one another instead of declaring a competition of who stays.
Oh yeah.
And in a common world where they only get one, like, and most people have resources or opportunities, and they're like, I don't know where I'm gonna get this next, so I can't share with anyone. That's the thing that we have to learn from. The example of the 2 of you coming together and be like, how do we both stay here? How do we set ourselves for success? Is where I feel like our community really needs to continue to resonate. Like, it's not a competition.
I never even thought about how that could have, you're right, gone totally
You could have not talked to each other?
Right. And then, like, see at the table read.
Yeah. Or not be catty, but just like in the back of your mind, not
but
even
also, like, you
it.
could be catty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, there are people that might have the perspective of, like, I'm going to show up and make sure I'm funnier than her. I'm
Right,
make sure
right,
that,
like
you know what I
outshine
mean?
her.
That I
Yeah,
outshine
yeah.
her, like just in case they get rid of one of us, they're gonna
Yeah.
keep me, like, you know. But that never even occurred to us. We clung. The reason we got so close so fast was we were both new to like, this was both our first show.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, it was
Wow,
both
very
our
cool.
first show, and both first time seeing two Latin characters on a network show, and we just like clung to each other.
Yeah.
So great.
We were just like, we are going to survive this by like holding on to each other for dear life.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And
But there's also, you two have this incredible chemistry, right?
That's so crazy.
Like,
yeah.
was that instantaneous? Was that something that, I mean, really, like, I'm not saying this to like blow smoke up your ass, right? But like,
Thank you.
I remember hanging out with, when us four hung out in Austin.
oh yeah.
I was like, whoa, they really have that chemistry, like in real life.
Yeah.
It was just very Laverne and Shirley, very like,
Yeah.
and I mean that in the most
And
highest.
we're so different. We're so different.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
this like Texas girl.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm from Jersey. Like we could not. We have different tastes. We have different. But yeah, like the chemistry was
No, but
always
there's
there.
Yeah.
Like we would.
But there's
you know,
a DNA structure you guys are connected to. You know, like the
Yeah.
aesthetics and the
Yes.
interest could be different.
Yeah.
But there isn't like there's like a sisterhood that's like rooted in blood
Agreed.
somehow.
Agreed.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
just-
beyond
soulful.
just like,
it's like a soulful
Yeah.
It is like we knew each other in a different life or
Yes,
something.
that's what I'm
That is
talking
the
about.
feeling.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure. And we definitely have. When it comes to comedy, we're very aligned. Like the same shit makes us laugh.
Yeah.
And I think also we both started in theater.
Yeah.
And so we had kind of similar coming ups. Stephanie's was a little different because she did theater for longer and kind of just did some little guest stars and then like got Brooklyn. So
Right,
she was
right.
like very, very, very new to television. Whereas I had worked a little bit more in TV. So like in the very beginning was like, you know, like whispering that, you know, like, no,
Yeah.
like this is, you know, if the camera's over there, like do this, you know,
Right.
like technical things. But I also just thought she was such an extraordinary actress and she was
she's so
so
gifted.
freaking
Yeah.
funny. And, you know, she was like had that character, like the voice, the way she stood, the way she wore those leather pants,
Oh my
like
God,
everything was
Every
so
character trait she built
Yes.
for it is amazing. And
So
for a quick
dialed
reminder
in.
for our audiences, Stephanie Beatriz,
Yes.
you know, co-starred in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. She went on to do some extraordinary roles, and in The Heights, she was Mirabel on Encanto. I had the honor of playing her father on Encanto, and she's just a gifted singer.
She's a very gifted singer.
Yeah, speaking of singers,
She has the opposite story. She didn't think she was a singer, and I was like, "You're a freaking
a
singer.
singer,
You
yeah.
better fucking audition for In the Heights.
Yeah, yeah.
I've heard you sing on set.
yes,
You can sing."
Yes.
She was like,
She's
"No, I
sick.
can't." I was like, "No, trust me." As
Yeah.
someone who thought she could sing and then was what you
I mean,
could sing.
bro, like the fact that she sang all those Lin-Manuel Miranda composed and
Yeah.
lyrical songs, those songs are very, very hard to sing.
Yeah,
And she
he's like our
absolutely-
generation Sondheim. Like it is not
Yes,
easy to sing
yes.
his songs.
So,
Like,
so she's so reflecting on the both of you now. We're talking about both of your chemistry. You both host a show called More Better.
more better.
So I'd like to talk about More Better next because it's not only a sister podcast to us, but it's also one of the biggest hits on my Cultura podcast network.
That's right.
So excited to hear how that came about and the gift that you guys have brought to the people who are in search of more better. Wilmer Valderrama,
I'm Freddy Rodriguez.
and this was part one of 2 parts with Melissa Fumero.